Welcome to the Geometric View, episode 27, where we get into the geometry of principalities, government, consumption, digestion, corporations consuming other corporations. Everything comes to a head. All heads come together with tails. Tails spin. All things evolve. All things are all things and all things. I'm your host, Buddy James. Strap in. Here we go.
Please support us on our Patreon link below. Thank you.
Welcome everyone to episode 27, I think. Of the Geometric View. This is season 3, and we are going to get into the geometry of consumption, the geometry of digestion, and we're also going to get into the government. I threw the government in on this episode because that's what's going on. There's principalities that we must talk about. Is consumption and digestion geometric? On all scales, is there consumption and digestion going on, and ingestion? And we're going to get deep into all sorts of different topics having to do with this subject. And we're also going to get into a lot of different organizations and companies and governments that we might not have heard of together as a group, but I have been doing research for quite some time. We're going to get into the book The Prince by Machiavelli. I'm going to be doing some quotes in there, and yeah, this is the episode to really that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. Unfortunately, Ramon cannot make it here for this episode. We have Linclair Dennis. Thank you for joining us again. Last week was amazing. We have Michael McDuffie, and we have Danny Kleinheinz, as well as me, Buddy James, your host. So I have my friend's artwork featured in the back here. This is Zachary Chapman from Brighton. He's an artist friend of mine. I've been working with his art, working as far as appreciating it, loving it, and having it be part of my life. Definitely good guy. So Zachary Chapman out there. I'll probably put a link into his work. Hopefully I'll remember at the beginning when I post this episode. So how you guys doing? How was your week? I can't really hear.
Hi, buddy. It's Linclair.
Hey, guys. Linclair, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm crazy busy. I've got all kinds of stuff going on, so I'm not going to be able to participate in the call. So I just wanted to say, hey, look forward to talking with you on Monday, and you guys have a good discussion.
Perfect. Well, thank you for
being
here.
Great to hear your voice, Linclair.
It is good to hear from you. I can't wait till our call on Monday. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for including me.
Yeah, it's going to be wonderful. Okay. Love to all of you. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks. Love you.
Okay,
See you soon.
Buddy, I'll enter a little bit later. Of course, I'm still on the riverside here. I got you on my mobile. I connect in 20 minutes with the computer.
Well, perfect. Thank you for joining in, Maximilian.
Okay. I'll be back very, very soon. In a moment.
Good. Awesome. So that's Maximilian. He's in Australia, right?
In Spain, like Linclair. We're...
My bad.
Yeah.
I have you confused with another geometer that we were talking to from Australia. I'm sorry about that. So Spain.
No problem.
Yeah,
it's the other side of the globe, so you only have to drill through. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to jump right into the episode as I normally do. This episode is going to be way different than all of the other episodes that we've done, because I did do an image, as a map, a new piece of art that we can discuss, but I want the whole episode to be an open conversation where we discuss what it is, what is consumption, you know, and we take each thing and break it down. What is thunder consuming? Is there nutrients of thunder? What is electricity consuming? There's life brine in everything. There's life brine and bubbling frothiness to it. And there's digestive enzymes in almost everything. And I want to look at Birkeland currents like they're digesting information and spewing it out almost like poop. Like it comes out of the sun as ejecta, as basically bile or poop or whatever, or maybe life, I don't know. And then all of a sudden it turns into solid, like it's becoming solid. So this is very similar to the digestive system. The digestive system is turns what you eat into solid waste. Most of the time it does do solid and liquid, but so we'll get into that and the actual some of the science of what is inside of our body, how long it took for the earth to develop a gut, the first guts on earth, because the earth probably didn't always have guts, because we assume life is an emergent phenomenon, emergent property of the universe. So when we see it like that, even octopi or octopuses, which is actually the proper way to change it, because, well, it's a long story, but Google it. So don't say octopi anymore. It's octopuses, because of the etymology of the words. They switched it around. So they used to think that octopi.
Also, it's way more fun to say.
Octopuses. Well, I mean, if there's a store called Dick's, there should be a store called Vagina. I'm all for equal rights and opportunities here.
Amen. Amen. Power
So I was in Dick's the other day, and I was like, let's go to Vaginas. And everyone looked at me like I was a fucking madman.
Classic, buddy. Classic.
So yeah, it's going to be strange because I'm learning and teaching as I go, and this episode, so I'm going to open this up and share my screen. Boom, share. Oh, of course it went off right when I did it. Okay. Hide. Where shall we start? I think to open up the conversation, we'll get into the map. Here's the map that I threw in for the day. I just got to Google a new phone, so look at the difference of the detail that we get in the image here. Now, this is the Ouroboros. This is just highlighting circles and circles creating toroids, highlighting already pre-existing circles and plasmoids, ball lightning in the system. This could be how ball lightning moves as a plasmoid and how it consumes its tail and consumes itself and moves around in what seems like a ball of energy. There's a video by Physics Girl that we're going to get into here. I might as well do it right now since we're talking about it. But we can totally see how one vortex eats another vortex and how they start to nest inside of each other using dyes, blue dyes and red dyes. So I'm going to hop to Physics Girl inside YouTube. And guys, guess what? The geometric view here is brought to you by Bubble Sculpting, and it's a Love is Life product. And there's a lot of huge things just on the verge here. I just was talking with Terrence, and a lot of things are moving forward. Let me pause this, mute that, and we'll go to Physics Girl.
Before you cue that up,
Yeah.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please. Feel free,
So,
anybody to speak. Go ahead.
One of the things that is really triggers my imagination is the idea that plasma is the bloodstream of the universe, and that is these are concepts you and I have kind of thrown back and forth occasionally, and this concept that each of the elements of the universe are like an organ in the human body, I think is really insightful, and I think it's the right way to go. And the idea that there is a digestive system and that there are byproducts, and those byproducts bring about fertility, and fertility brings about more. Those are all human biology sort of corollaries, and the idea that the universe works as a unified, cohesive body, just like the human body works, is a really brilliant idea. And it also just asks us, like, where's the liver? Like, what are the fingers?
Well,
like, where are the toes?
right.
What's the what's the pancreas? Like, where is the pancreas of the universe? And
Well,
I
it
think
kind of takes out the idea of it being a simulated universe and a computer. See, now this is what we do. We as people, when we invent something new or there's new technology, we tend to say that when we got into the industrial age, we said the universe is mechanistic. Then when we got into the fractal universe, when we were introduced to fractals, we were like, holy shit, the universe is fractal. Then when we got
discovered
introduced,
bombs and said universe is explosive.
yeah, yes, yep, and they took away the implosive and said that let's just not talk about this induction. And the Doherty set is the master grid for a universe of induction.
Yes,
that's what it is. So when you look at the universe, you can't deny that there's induction. But look at this induction, these induced currents that are creating an Ouroboros, and they're nested. They can only nest in certain harmonic intervals of counter-rotating cylindrical conic or cylindrical and conics, because it's conical. The vortex is a cone. It looks like a worm, but it's a cone. The cone is dipping into the other cone, and they're creating an outside and an inside vessel function. There is a word for this, and I'm going to, Michael, thank you for taking it right directly to the point of the episode right at the beginning. But dude, this word that I found out is called peristalsis, and it is a wave-like undulation inside of your digestive tract or a tube. Now, these wave-like undulations happen in plasma, and there is a peristalsis to Birkeland currents. Now, we're not there just yet, but I'm gonna take and paint this picture of the universe consuming living creatures as its lubrication to continue, and it's digesting novelty. The universe is consuming and preserves novelty, new ideas, transformative ideas that go viral and become mimetic. It's a universe of mimetics on all scales, mimicry on all scales, and uniqueness on all scales. So there is a beginning to this episode, a middle, and an end. And I cannot tell you which one is which, but what we're going to do is hop into it and then just have it be what it is. So let me go back here a little bit and replay this episode and explain to you the Ouroboros nesting, which I just kind of did pretty much in a free flow. Now, this is important because this is happening on every scale, all the time. All matter, all motion is the same shape. Just different sizes of the same shape, scaled up and scaled down. I was thinking of a song that I created to remember the lyrics. All motion is the same shape, anyway. So I showed you my image here. Now this is only half of the Ouroboros, but it is indeed doing what the image here is explaining. Now I did not know this when I was creating this, and I don't know any of this stuff while I'm making it. It's like MC Escher, the science comes out after, and then scientists and mathematicians do the work for him. I'm an intuitive mathematic, progressive geometer, as a lot of us are here. And I've taken what I find and shown that there is the natural logarithm of this Bessel function, as you can see here. And if you go into the last episode, episode 26 and 25, you'll find that we found Beltrami vortexes. Now look at this Beltrami vortex forming the beginning alpha. There's alpha, and then it goes out all the way out until the end. This same cylindrical Bessel function of counter rotation is the exact same thing as this, but looking at it from a different angle. Can you see them nesting inside of each other? Now this would be synchrotron radiation in a azimuthal flow or wraparound flow, and this right here is a force-free field-aligned current in a direction, a poloidal direction. Everything's poles. There's poles here, and there's pinches. Okay, it said something's messed up. Do I still got you guys?
I'm here. This is Dana.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we can see it's a cymatic universe. Cymatics create form. These are vibrations. I want to get into fractals, filaments, and frequencies, because what's eating everything here is geometry. What is before space and time? Before space and time exist, there is a geometry to it. And cavitating geometries are what's creating the spinning geodesics that are creating what we see in the Platonic solids and what Plato described as the beginning alchemical Platonic solids substrates spinning that create these things. Now, when you take the straight lines away and you look at it as a whole system, there's no straight lines in this, by the way. Any straight line that you see is just nothing but spheres, kissing spheres all the way down, pinching in Apollonian gaskets. And Apollonian gaskets are secreting the dielectric inertial plane. So this would be the dielectric inertial plane that Ken Wheeler talks about. I don't need to talk about Ken Wheeler. I don't need to talk about anybody, but I respect different people, and it doesn't matter. Some people don't. So I say things, and that's that. So anyway, so this is a force-free field-aligned current. Now, when you look at the sun and the sun pushing off all this spaghetti and all this information, what is the sun eating? What is the sun consuming? It's consuming. It is a load. The sun is only a load that bears a certain amount of current moving through it. There used to be two suns. This would be Saturn or Jupiter, and this would be the sun, and they fought, and there was a war in heaven, and they consumed each other, and there was large streams of ethereal filamental plasma that we could see from the ground. And this is why we hid underneath rocks and hid inside caves, because this calamity happened when we seen this in the skies. It created Venus when it was passing by other planets. You see, in cymatics, things change rapidly. So if you change the frequency of the system, planets are going to move past each other and it's going to realign. This is just natural. This is what Velikovsky talks about. This is electric universe understanding. But when you get deeper into it, the science makes perfect sense. This is just bearing a different load. It might not be the exact geometry that I'm showing you here, but I'm showing you a concept of how the charge can come down in here, and the charge can also come down in here in this pinch, this Bennett pinch or Z pinch, and where another planet is. And when Venus passes by Mars and they fought in the sky, and the Greeks and the gods talked about this, there were people, native cultures, that were drawing what they saw in the sky on the rocks. And Dr. Anthony Perret went through the world and took these images and created and showed how these images were exactly like the plasmoids and plasma instabilities that he created in his lab. Now I'm going to show Dr. Anthony Perret. Okay, now this is what people saw in the sky. This is called the Squatter Man, and these are the images from all over the world. This is Arizona, Armenia, Guinea, Spain, United Arab Emirates, Italy. This is synchrotron radiation that is moving around charge in a plasma instability. This was the one created in the lab. There's also heterodyning diachotron instabilities and plasma columns right here. Now, these are drawn all over the ground. These are minimal energy configurations and how energy would move in the most efficient pattern. That's how electricity moves, as it's consuming things. So remember that this episode is about digestion, consuming, and the government and larger principalities of the universe. What's the universe consuming? What is ideas consuming? What is IBM consuming? Why is IBM the #1 most powerful company? Because they consume our ideas. Then when we give them our ideas for free, or we pay for it to get our ideas patented, we get back in the patent offices, sorry, your idea is classified and you are no longer allowed to talk about it. Sometimes they offer you money, but either way, you're not allowed to talk about it. So this is the control mechanism of the way that the universe works, not using open source systems, but closed source systems. When your open source system, like Google took over the world, then you give your software away for free and you have everybody else do the work, and it keeps getting better and better, which is called open source. The universe is open source. We have constant energies coming out of the earth. The atmosphere is constantly leaking out of the earth, and it's replenished every day. It's not a problem. It's just, but we can use it as tailspin to make money. And just like we can use it as tailspin to make money off of the carbon tax, human carbon tax, and all your livestock, and that there's 6 electrons, 6 protons, and 6 neutrons in a carbon atom. That's 666. We are the number of 666 in the Bible is man. We are using man and taxing them for carbon, 666, 666, and you see where I'm going with this. So we can blame it on ourselves all we want, or we can realize the universe is open source and tap into the motherfucking currents and the streams. So that's what this show is about, is actually tapping into the I3 and going into bird's eye view, literally going into creatures and seeing out of their fossilized neural networks through optics, universal optics. There's ways to do this, and this geometry is right here, all inside the Doherty set. Every one of these geometries. This is I digress, but I also progress. So when the sun, when the somatic dance happens and the frequencies shift, it is only because the larger Birkeland current. Let me pull up a YouTube here. The larger Birkeland current is moving around the cylindrical container, doing a 90-degree angular spin. That's why the Earth shifts, the poles shift, everything shifts. Now let me pull in a video here, which I play a lot. Thank you, David. But I also videotaped it, so thank you, David, for designing this. Birkeland Current, working with our friend, the astrophysicist Wenninger, that we quote all the time on here and work with. Now, when we turn, if you can think of everything as a worm inside of or a tube inside of a tube inside of a tube inside of a tube, and this is how the planets. These are the planets. This is the Bessel function of the solar system. The central one is the sun. Even the sun itself is helical, on a helical trajectory that undulates. So when you're moving through this, when we're moving through this, there's flips. The system has to flip. Sometimes it as it flips around the larger helice that I can show you out here. Oh yeah, there's the larger one. Here you go. Oh, there it is. See the tail? Look at that. That's the sun's trajectory. Even the sun is helical. So this is a worm. It looks like it's consuming something. There's cephalization occurring. There's a head. It's come to a head. There is an anterior and a posterior, and this is galactic cephalization. So let's say the sun is the head and it's eating charge. Now, what would the gut be? The gut would be probably one of the most lively systems in the system, maybe Earth. And this is what I suppose in sonobiology, the electrospeciation, sonic speciation theory. Sonic electrospeciation theory. I keep saying it wrong. Electrosonic speciation. This is electro, this is sonic, this is geometric. The geometry comes naturally, inherently, as the system moves, digests, consumes, and collapses, and it's probably all coherent along the galactic plane, the solar plane. I think it's called the heliopause or whatever. Now, the galaxy's doing a similar thing here, and it's creating a disk that's rotating. Now, this disk that's rotating, accretion disk, is probably cognizant, and it's also consuming other things. We don't have to hit. A planet doesn't have to hit in order to consume it. It can move by it and strip its resources and leave it barren as it moves past. And that's what Velikovsky supposes happened when Venus passed Earth, or when Jupiter passed over the Earth. One or the other. It's hard to remember. I mean, whatever. The planets are fucking moving around. So when it moves past the Earth, it has these really long electrical arcs and gigantic devastation and electrical scarification most likely occurred on the planet. These are huge electrical arcs. We have a few groups that have pertaining to electrogeology. So this is
Buddy, I love you so much.
Tell me why, big boy. I love you too.
I'm sitting here on mute just giggling my ass off because, like, what you just said was such like what is going on in the electric universe right now. Everybody's talking about which planet came first and how Velikovsky was the genius that started everything, like we stand on his shoulders, but he was also wrong. And also Dave Talbot said this and fucking Wal Thornhill said that. And it's just fascinating to be into all of these different elements of things and to see you go through the process of kind of like sharing your thoughts and saying, this is the process, this is the big picture, this is the mechanism, this is how I think things went down. And the fucking order doesn't matter that much. So anyway, this is what I was saying. Like that's, you just sort of like pass by the mud that so many of us get stuck in because you have a higher vision. And that tickles me. The fact that you can sort of just skate over the top of so much of the bullshit discourse is, and sometimes you're wrong. I'm not saying you're always right, but you're following an inner thought, and you're being completely honest about where you are with things, and you don't feel the need to sort of get into the minutia of which planet hit which planet and how it all happened. Because the thing, and this is why it makes me, it does my heart good, because the only thing that matters is how these things affect us, really. I mean, if it's a matter of order, then it's a matter of who was right and who was wrong. If it's a matter of function, it's a matter of how do we use this function for the benefit of humanity and for our own edification. So it's you're sticking to the point, is what I guess I'm really saying. When I speak in emotional terms, what I'm really saying is that you're able to not get bogged down in some of the undefined details because you have a big picture perspective, and that I appreciate immensely. Even when I completely don't understand a word you're saying, I know that you're speaking from a place of personal truth. And to me, that's really that tickles me.
Thank you. That's very heartfelt and very true. I appreciate your honesty. I skate across the top of things to get rid of all of the baggage, the policy, politics, government. Machiavelli was a nobody, and he was being destroyed by the what family did he write this letter to? This was a letter to the Medicis. Machiavelli was kicked out of, he was like high-ranking duke or something, something along those lines. And he was kicked out, and he had to try to, instead of trying to win favor by the Medicis by giving them gold and gifts, he wrote the best book on how to maintain power and control over the world, and it is completely brutal. It is 100% lethal and Machiavellian. It's the tactics are very, very straightforward on how to oppress, how to rule, and how to maintain and preserve your power and your principalities. Now, principalities are basically synonymous with blue blood, and I never knew that until I started reading this. But principalities are basically families that you're born into that have money. That's why in Ephesians it says that Ephesians, I think 6:12 says we are not run. This world is not run by flesh. It is run by spirit, or in the principalities and the powers of wickedness in high places. I paraphrased, but this is what is meant by that. Everything is run by these larger principalities. The Bain Corporation that most of us probably haven't even heard of, the Bain Company. This is Mitt Romney. And if you want to know who Bill Gates works for, it's the Bain Corporation. And all of these fake things that are happening on TV, the Bain Corporation is responsible for it. And it might be corporation, might be something else, but it's Bain, like bane of my existence. Let's talk about the word Bain. Bain and Company. They changed from Bain to Bain and Company. Now, if you want to see what rules the world, you got to look at what we're turning into and who is the most profitable, who is the two largest. In 10 years, 20 years, two companies came out of nowhere and became the largest companies, damn near the largest companies in the world. And this was with the help of the IBM and the vaccines. And what I'm talking about is Google and YouTube, Alphabet. Now, of course, if you go to their company, it looks as simple and bland and corporate as possible. I mean, what do? Let's take some pills, reflecting on a day, learning how can bold steps forward, total 100% corporate style website. But go ahead, take your time, learn into them. I learned about these guys from Grace. I have to say her name because she's the fucking shit. Gee, whoa.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
What is it? Graceful?
It's called Really Graceful.
Really Graceful. Thank you. She's fabulous.
I would have to mostly agree, although I struggle a bit. But mostly, she's like brilliantly insightful with a little bit, a tiny bit of bullshit.
Well, I mean, she has her own opinion.
I don't mean to take away from what you're saying, but that's just that's my assessment.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's ever got it all the way. You know, we're all kind of trying to careen our necks towards the direction. I like to say, or like an old friend used to say, I'm a dog pointing my nose towards the direction. Don't really know exactly where it is, but I know the direction, and that's it. But yeah, this is really good. So while we're talking about government, principalities, I'm going to say we're covering so much, and I want people to be able to take from this episode power and empowerment of you are the prince, you are the government, you are the network. We have the power. The government works for us. We don't work.
We are the organs of the body.
Yeah.
They are the parasites that draw energy from the body.
They work for us, so we need to make sure
that we're the body.
This is a prison country, a prison state we live in, and if we need the police to back the fuck off, I think that's very proper. I think if you look at the fucking numbers in the world, and we are leading the world on getting people in jail to privatize it and make money off of people in jail. We're teaching the rest of the fucking world how to do it. Excuse my passion, my fucking mic's all the way on hot red, but it's just like, dude, I'm going to get more passionate through this goddamn motherfucking episode, and I'm hoping that people can start to see clearly about what's really going on and how we can move with it and successfully promote and disseminate our information along with the beast as she grows. Because you can either work with the beast or work against it. I'm against it, but it's moving towards a direction. You can be on it and in it and be a living, vibrant being. You don't have to be consumed by the digital age. You don't have to have your social sites take up your life and your time. We should be getting paid for our content. We need to speak up in our voices, and the people out in the streets need to go straight to IBM, Facebook, Google, and tell them we're not going to create any more content unless you start paying us. And we're not going to go on any of your platforms, because that's what this technium bullshit was all about. It's a technium crunch for a technocracy so that we can get optics and eyeballs in grandpa's and grandma's room, because they have to go to AA. And nobody in the world would have said, oh, hell no, grandpa would never have what are they, the external monitors, external eyes, external cameras for your computer. None of them would have said yes. But the collapse of COVID-19 and whatever else the fuck happened, that, my friend, was to create a larger panopticon. When you look up that word, panopticon is to get the eyeballs in your bedroom, in your pants, in your kids' privacy all day long. Okay, now wake the fuck up. All right, now I'm going to type in Michael Jackson, Electric Eyes.
Hey, buddy, so I have a thought to share.
Yeah.
Have you You know, do you know the concept of terrain theory versus germ theory? Has that been in, I don't know,
Germ and terrain?
Yeah, it's so as I've been, I don't know, looking at current events and things, I am seeing that a lot of it I feel like comes down to that concept of we're living in germ theory, basically. The medical paradigm is built on this notion that we are warring against germs, and it's a war-based mentality, versus terrain theory, which is kind of the understanding that it's all about the ecosystem, it's all about the environment that allows us to exist as a healthy individual, and those kinds of things. And so I was thinking of it in terms of government. So a lot of it with terrain theory is the understanding that symptoms are there actually as a mechanism to bring about healing. They're there as a feedback to basically that every living vessel has every mechanism it needs to restore its homeostasis, and oftentimes those mechanisms can be uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean that they're not there to bring about a healthy change. For instance, sometimes it might be necessary for bacteria to enter the body to remove dead tissue and restore health in the body, and that may be uncomfortable and it may cause certain symptoms and that sort of thing. And in the mainstream medical paradigm, it's all about suppressing symptoms, versus terrain theory is about allowing the environment to regain that homeostasis. And so in my mind, in terms of government, it's like government is this sort of parasite, and it's almost, I could see it as a symptom just there to feed off of apathy and to feed off of our fear of sovereignty. And so in my mind, it's like the solution is about reconnecting with the terrain, reconnecting with our sovereignty, and reconnecting with the sources of energy that sustain us. And in that action, we shed the need for this, or really the parasite can no longer feed on us. And I know it's easier said than done, but that's kind of the symbolism that I see happening.
Reconnecting with sovereignty is an amazingly beautiful concept.
Well, yeah, there's ways to rule and govern, and unfortunately, it's really hard. We're moving towards a. Sorry, I think I'm doubling. Can someone mute their mic? We're moving towards collective consumption. Collective consumption is probably one of the greatest revelations that I've had in my entire life. This woman did a TED Talk on collective consumption and showing us where we were going in the future. She did this in 2008. I'm going to show us right now. Collective consumption. I have a song too. I'm going to put it on this episode about me talking about collective consumption. I did years ago. TED Talk. Here it is. Dude, I'm going to copy and paste this and put it in the notes. Okay, now what she was talking about is the very beginning when Uber just started, an Airbnb. This is from, when's this talk from? I don't see a date right off the 2010. Okay, so 10 years ago. I'm going to copy, paste, copy. She's talking about the future of currency, what the future of currency is going to be, and it's going to be our reputation, and how sharing is going to be the thing of the future. She has beautiful insight as to what an organism working together looks like, and then we don't even own possessions in the future, in her ideal future. It starts to move towards a social credit score in a way, but it's more based off of your reputation. The more times you go to Airbnb, the more likely you are to stay at better places for cheaper. The more times you use an Uber, the more likely it is for you to use them and get cheaper rates and better reputation. Money is no longer the currency of the future. It's cooperation using larger shared systems. We have bikes all over the world where people share bikes. This is the geometry of consumption. This is the geometry of collaborative consumption using a fractal, one fractal bicycle, repeating that one bicycle many times over and having people reuse it and pay for it and drop it off. There's electric scooters that are like this in big cities. There's bicycles, but then there was a problem in some cities that they didn't have regulations. So there was piles of bicycles in India, there's piles of just huge piles of them. So, I mean, as far as collective and collaborative consumption goes, dude, ride the bandwagon. All companies are doing this. Facebook Marketplace is my vision. My vision I had is Facebook Marketplace. People are already doing it. Trading services and goods on a market right now without money. It's all over. Craigslist, Facebook. We live in a beautiful time. So many people are always talking about all this travesty and bullshit going on. Use the system and play. Go play in the city. Go to the park. Enjoy life. Take a break away from your social media that's eating your brain. What does social media consume? Time. What is time? The most important thing that you can give someone. The most important thing you can give to your daughter, your children, your grandparents is your time. Your dedicated time. Whether it's crying, loving, building, that's what it is. And our time is being eaten up and we're paying for it. They're not even paying us. We are being consumed from the outside in. It's not a bad thing.
That's true. We
not
think
a
we're
bad
consumers,
thing.
but really we're the product.
What's that?
I said we think we're consumers, but really we're the product in this economy. We're the product. We're not the consumers. We're the consumers and the product. It's the, if
it's free, most likely you're the product.
Buddy, I have this idea of the butterfly in my head, and you were talking about consumption, and the caterpillar consumes. The caterpillar consumes and consumes and consumes and consumes and consumes. The caterpillar is the ultimate capitalist consumer, I mean, he's that guy. But then there's this chrysalis thing that happens, and I think that's where we are now. We're in a fluid state. It is absolutely impossible that we move into a dystopia. It's equally possible that we move into a utopia. The fluidity is what freaks people out. The lack of stability is
Michael,
very difficult.
Ask you,
Go ahead.
Can I ask you one thing? Name one utopian society that people talk about.
Well, I mean,
we don't want utopia. It's not cool to be good,
Yeah. Well, right. No, it's as a thought experiment, the idea of dystopia versus utopia is useful, but in practice, you're absolutely right. There's no such thing. It's all there's a downside and an upside to every situation. But we are in a state of fluidity now. And that fluidity makes people very, very uncomfortable because it implies a lack of stability. But the fluid is stable. It's just a state of change. And what happens when we emerge from the chrysalis? We become the butterfly. And the butterfly is a completely different creature. The butterfly is not a consumer. The butterfly has a really unique role in the system in that the butterfly pollinates the plant that was consumed, that creates and completes the cycle. So what I'm suggesting is that we are in a state of change right now. The only thing we can't have is stability. But here's the secret. We are a body. and we are each organs in that body, and that body is actually functioning as designed. It's just as the other guy said, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but it might be uncomfortable, but it's still indicative of a truth. And we are facing that truth and living that truth right now. We have the capacity to be whatever kind of butterfly we want to be, but we have to have autonomous, independent thought and unity and consensus in order to get there. Those are very difficult things to achieve, and that's why it's so hard right now. Everybody is at odds, everybody is confused, and we're all trying to, we can see this great potential for a future, and yet there's also this divisive and destructive forces that exist simultaneously. It's very frightening. But I'm beginning to understand that those things are both necessary in a state of change. They're intrinsic to the state of change that we currently live in. And as we transition into the butterfly, I think we will most likely understand much better from that perspective what's occurring to us now.
Well, ultimately, there's huge questions that we can ask here. What are gods consuming? Okay, or if a Birkeland current is consuming something, what is it consuming? Charge, its efficient charge distribution. A Birkeland current coming from the sun is hitting the earth and consuming our tears. It's consuming efficient energy distribution. It's what's happening here is the earth itself is consuming this charge from the sun. The charge from the sun has the ingredients for all living creatures inside of it, wrapped up inside of very precise and specific helicoidal geometries. Just as the solar system is a helical system, DNA is a helical system, and all creatures are helical systems. They themselves are the product of electricity moving in dispersing itself so as to eat the leaf that has already grown so as to minimize its surface area and maximize its body. And this is how all guts grow. All guts, every single gut, from all my research, from the beginning of guts, is to maximize surface area so you can take in the maximum amount of nutrition through the skin. Now, that's only the first living creatures in the world. The first living creatures on the planet, looking at my notes here, I have quite a bit of notes for today, so excuse me. There's a word for the first creatures that were on the planet here. And looking directly at my notes right here, I don't see it, but it might be on my other page of notes here. I have like 4 or 5 pages of notes for today because I'm so excited to get into this and to show the truth about, unfortunately, Biden. Yeah, I don't talk about politics, but we're going to get into some shit that happened in 1995 that set up what's going on right now today. I'm going to tell you the truth about it. The reality of the politics that got us where we are today. Fuck it. I'll tell you right now.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to touch on surface area before we leave that and digestion.
Yes.
Just some like patterns to connect that I like to think about is, people talk about the gut having a brain, and there's like this connection between the brain and the gut. And I like the concept that the brain is also digesting. It's digesting information. And so we could see even, you could think of all your senses, but specifically the eyes, right? It's kind of like these black holes, the pupil. I don't know the exact dynamics, but theoretically light is entering in there and is being digested by the brain. And specifically human beings and higher mammals have the neocortex, which is has more surface area basically. And so it's like we have more of that natural ability perhaps to digest information, and as well just seeing the toroidal function in that whole process as well, where the food entering through the mouth, passing through the toroidal system of the body. I'm sure you've talked about that before. But I just like seeing the common patterns and connecting the brain in that to that notion of digestion and consumption. I like to think of that as well.
Love is watching. During this whole period on Earth, there was only these creatures, and then our guts changed. Our guts completely changed into a different species. This was the Cambrian explosion. During the Cambrian explosion, our guts finally developed. We could start eating. Different creatures were created, and teeth started forming. Now, teeth are very important in this whole conversation here about consumption and digestion, the mechanisms of what it is to eat. What is the universe eating? We know what caterpillars, we know what we eat. So because I can't find that note right now, I'm going to continue on some of these very fundamental first principle questions here. What is eating and drinking? It's ingesting. It's ingesting. Now, the first creatures ingested with their skin nutrients from the water for, they suppose, millions of years. Then what maybe occurred is the geometry of the system changed, the frequency changed, and all of a sudden we started to grow ever so increasingly towards the Schumann cavity and the Schumann resonance. The Schumann resonance changes, and the more it is the Schumann resonance, the better and more prodigious and profundant the creatures become. Why is there so many different types of life forms? Why is there such a diversity? That's because the universe is preserving novelty. And the dragonfly is a symbol for change because it's always been here. It's a symbol of really invariance. It's always been here, and it's always transformed with everything else. Well, not always, but one of the first creatures on the planet. Always been transforming here and becoming different styles of itself while still maintaining the same body type. It's invariant. Changing while keeping the same shape, same vessels. So what does it mean to consume? You can breathe. Breathing is consuming. Enervating energy from other systems is consuming. You can consume with your hands, the energy in the space. You can boof things in the bum. That's consuming. So you can consume on both ends for a lot of creatures. Actually, that's how a lot of animals get their medicine. Intravenous consumption. And let's talk about Michael McDuffie talking about the plasma being the blood of the universe, and efficient distribution of this plasma moving through all systems is what we see. It's only energy becoming new systems based off of already pre-existing systems. How many types of consumption are there? Probably a lot, because I think that everything is consuming. DNA, thoughts, all night long you're consuming mind fields. We are all consuming mind fields while we dream in REM states, and DMT is released so we can open our vessels to be a conduit and follow these dreams. Dreams are from the universe. And that's why people so often used to say follow your dreams. When's the last time you heard that? Is that something of the fucking 90s, the last century, or what? I mean, narrow our view here and look at it from a universal perspective, take yourself out of it, and be a bug, be the water, like Bruce Lee says. In order to become the water, you must be the water. And this is how you become sympathetic, build up sympathetic vibratory fields, and you can literally start acting like a cat. Believe you're a cat. Identify that you're a dog. Identify as a frog. That's because we can sympathetically in tune, and through entrainment, all of our thoughts, all of our actions, we can entrain with them. Is there anything in the universe that is not consuming?
I was thinking too how the notion of entropy and even neg entropy relate to that idea of consumption. And it's kind of because it's, I wouldn't even say that entropy, like one or the other is consumption, but it's kind of like if entropy is the moving towards, stillness or whatever, it's like, I'm just imagining like air in a room is kind of a standard example, that it's going to move until everything is room temperature, is the same temperature. So it's like you would say the corners are consuming, it's like they're consuming the higher temperature or the lower temperature and making it all the same. But on the other end of that is this notion of neg entropy, which is basically in my mind life, or this creating principle, which is also sort of a part of that doing that consuming process. So I'm almost thinking that maybe it's like entropy and neg entropy are the sort of the two sides of the consuming living substance. I don't know.
Well, I agree.
No, I could see that.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And I think it's two opposing spiral vortices that Russell was talking about. There's, from one place to another, there's always 2 points, and one's moving one direction, one's moving the other, and they can themselves create. Let's go to some images here in our group chat. Because negentropy is gravitative, and it's pulling you towards the origin, and it's life, and it's implosive, and it's let's see what map would be the best one to pull up, or even just some images here. Here we go. That's going to take a second to open up. I dated this woman for quite a while and love her to death. She was and is probably still a raw vegan, and it was freaking crazy, her diet and the amount of energy and stuff and extra stuff that she had to do to gain energy. And like, our bodies are not meant to digest grass. If you're going to digest grass, you need to start swallowing rocks. Because that's what all of the creatures that eat grass do. They swallow rocks so that they can chew cud as a survival mechanism when they're being chased in the wilderness. They can go and chew later, relax and chew later in the shade somewhere with their meal. Now that's a part of a stomach and a part of digestion and a part of the conversation here. I'm waiting for my images to pop up, and I'm trying to figure out the best one to take this. This is a good way, but I think this image is small. So we can just scroll through, and I can give you a basic understanding of what I understand about the negentropic and entropic forces surrounding the geometry in the universe, and the inverse square geometry and magnetohydrodynamic geometry. There's always a head, and then in front of the head, there's a wind, there's a bow shock, even in a car, you know, and everything produces that. Okay, so this is an image. I propose that the predictive geometry inside of the Doherty set will ultimately show, and already has years ago, that the base of all Birkeland currents have this flow, this shape. This shape is a blue whirl. A blue whirl, it's a type of fire. It is a fire that burns carbon-free emissions, 100% carbon-free emissions, because of the geometry. The geometry is power, shape, power. Everything has shape, power. We are designed the way we are designed because we are a universal whip that has fingertips, and our fingertips are the crack of breaking the sound barrier. And that's how and why we can steer these plasma tornadoes, as Dan Winter says, or toroidal kingdoms, and build them up as cathedrals, mind field cathedrals, vortical mind field manifestations, Merkabahs, large scale universal Merkabahs. What is the Earth consuming? All of the other planets. That's the answer. That's one of the answers. There's plenty of answers, but it's consuming the tailspin from every other planet. That's why we go through Mercury retrograde. That's why we collectively go through collective amnesia. That's why we collectively go through all these things together. Now, this is the gravitative vortex that's moving towards the source, and that is inside the blue whirl and at the tip of the northern lights. There's sonification and sonic energies that are happening from these Van Allen belts that were predicted by Russell and other geometers before Van Allen. I think Birkeland himself was talking about the Van Allen belts before Van Allen, because he himself knew that the currents that were coming in and out of the north and south poles were electric, and that they came from the sun. And everybody fucking laughed at him until he killed himself and he died and committed suicide. He was very distinguished, a Nobel, him or one of the other, Hans Alfvén, the guy, the father of plasma physics, is I tripped on my speech there for a minute, but these people are the very foundations of what is brought us the technocracy, because it's all electric. We are an electric revolution, as as Elon Musk has said through Tesla, the company he works with. As we move towards this electric kingdom, this electric futurism, this electric universe, these principles are very obvious, and all it is subnested helicoidal whistling and eating of one body and the other. And there's a communication to eating. There's information happening during consumption. There's digestive enzymes, galactic digestive enzymes that are raining down, that we just call neutrinos, and that we happen to just call space energy, and all this cosmic rays that are coming down. There's information in all that. And what the Earth does with it is it creates living forms. It goes and then pops it back out. This is all the Doherty set geometry, and you can see sundog geometry that happens here, and it's, you know, I just put together a couple of YouTube, what are they called? YouTube, groups where the linked videos, shared videos, and I did our whole full season 1 and whole full season 2. So now you can go out there and get and watch the whole full season, one video after the next. And it's about 40-50 hours per season we're averaging. That's a shit ton of content, and a lot to learn and take in and to share with friends. Now, at the top of these hypersonic vorticular geometries, these diachotron instabilities that are happening here at the top of the sun, at the top of Saturn, Jupiter, there's multi-vortical nested vorticities that are knotted, and they're consuming, they're eating, and they're digesting the planet and beaming out signals to Earth, and us beaming out signals to them. There's people dancing around black cubes and worshiping things that have to do with Saturn, and that's plenty of different other religions and things like that. We get into all that stuff. We're multicultural, multi-religious, interdisciplinary geometers. We find information, show you that it's cavitating and moving straight towards you through these tubes, and you can control your mind and have your mind focused on every different channel. We are men of station, men and women of station, beings that can tune into cosmic creatures. It's very dangerous to astral project. A lot of people go insane and they don't come back. It's because it's an infinite universe out there. You have to be grounded. You have to have your ground. And I mean, it's kind of silly, but like, you know, you, in that movie Inception, the dreidel or whatever, you have to have a ground. If you're going to go play in the universe and want to come back, there's rules. You can't just go out there and, I mean, you'll get torn up into shreds. That's why in the Bible it says test the spirits so that you can know the Holy Spirit. If that's what you're going for, if that's what you're playing with in the universe here, there's hierarchical nested angels and filaments and beings out here, and it's all spirit. The whole thing's plasma. So these ideas are like, if a bird's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, don't eat me, 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 that's like a red marker. Like, it's gonna get eaten. Like, but if the same red bird next to it is like, wow, this is a beautiful tree. Wow, what a beautiful life. All of a sudden, the bird starts to turn into the tree, mimicking the layers and the intensities and personality of the tree, so as to mimic and move through layers of nested mimicry and plunge its DNA into its observation of beatitudes. Beauty is what guides the universe, not survival of the fittest. It's time for us to wake up. Now, what is your new beauty that you have been in tune to recently and started studying so that you can know more about it? Is it the Vajra? Is it the Dorji? Is it plasma instabilities? These are the plasma instabilities that Parat created in his lab, and they look just like Dorjis and Vajras of energy, Tibetan energy symbols that stand for electricity, lightning, and diamond, and thunder. Whoop. D-O-R-J-E, Dorji. They're also a fucking amazing band. My friend loves them. Phil, he was on the episode once, on an episode here. One of my best friends works for Google, but Dorji, he says it's like the 4 best guitarists in the world, or the 3 best guitarists in the world, and they're in the same band. So Vajra, same thing, Dorji, Vajra, synonyms. And there's the shape. And that's what we're creating in the labs. That's what we're working on with other high velocity or high plasma physics and high energy physics and plasma laboratories that we're working with, creating different plasmoids that are predictive in the set that I've developed, and also other plasmoids like the kinds that Terrence has developed. These are sustainable energy configurations that hold form. And the buildings that people have created are mimicry of this form of energy that's out there in the universe, and they're creating it into buildings. You look at their probably Vajra temple. I mean, they probably have them. Oh. There it is. Dorje Shungden Temple. Oh, we went through this last episode, I think. Yeah. Now, things are created in the form that they're in because shape, the reason something is the way it is because shape has power. The reason something works so well is because of its shape. Period. How well something works depends on its shape. And that's a fact. You look at universal creatures, you look at their tails, you look at their tail feathers, you look at their dance, because most things are dancing. We can't forget what a dance is: consuming people's attention, gathering people's attention, digesting it later, maybe with a cuddle puddle. I mean, what really is the universe? There's beautiful ways to look at the universe, and there's really sorrowful ways to look at the universe. There's so many beautiful cultures out there, and if we all mold into one culture, I'm gonna be upset. I want to learn about these cultures. I love learning about cultures. If they're all become one culture, we're all just gonna become drones and told what is what. I don't want to be like that. I want these episodes to go on, and I want to know more about Tibet. I want to know more about China. I want to know more about ancient cultures, because there's ways into these filaments that are stories that go on for forever, and song lines and natural things that come out of our mouths and that our bodies and hands do that we don't know why they do what they do, but we just call it instinct. Oh, why does that bird know how to do that? Oh, instinct. Okay. Why does it seem like everything has a memory? And the birds, even if you take certain birds away from their original songs that they were singing, and you keep them away from all their other parents, and you incubate them from eggs, generation after generation after generation, before they can hear each other's songs, until 5-6 years later, where you hatch an egg and it should have no idea what its song is. It knows its song. And then it starts naturally, just recursively braiding its song out of thin air. The fuck is that? It happens all day long. It's because we're inside of this froth of spirit and plasma and ether. And we used to talk to these spirits and move them and make spelling is a language of the universe. It's a spell. Your hands make the spell. Your bodies do the spell. Drones are the way the shape they are because the shape is already in the circuitry of the network of the system. Drones are killing people. Robots are eating people. Literally. Consuming robots. Robots that eat flesh. Robots that kill. They're arguably the most ethical way to kill terrorists is with drones because it minimizes civilian casualties the least. So now all of a sudden it raises a valuable question of, are all other forms of war now crimes against humanity, and drones should be the only police force because it minimizes civilian casualties? The governments are consuming us. The governments are digesting us. What does the military industrial complex eat? It eats a Federal Reserve, that's for sure, money that's coming out of the Federal Reserve, printed out of thin air, but it also eats blood. It lives off of our blood and our flesh and our ideas and our time working for them. The companies and corporations that you work for when you go to work tomorrow or today or whenever, even if you work or not, ask yourself how you're gonna digest work in a better manner so that you don't have so much indigestion. Ingest your work happily. Be a happy worker. Take things and be a happy. The saying is in Christendom, God loves a happy servant. I know I do. I've worked with many different people on multiple scales and levels and pay grades. Now, be a happy servant. The universe loves a happy, willing servant that's willing to show what it has to offer and share with the universe. Open source, not hiding behind a veil or a curtain, not some secret society. Openly. What else do you have to lose than to give yourself and your heart on your sleeve? Wear your heart on your sleeve. What good is it to hide your body, your face, your religion, your everything under masks and masks and masks? Be bold to be identified and independent. Motherfucker, say what?
Say what?
So this geometry is consuming. Consumption is geometric. What are star fuckers? Do you know what star fuckers are? My favorite band was Starfucker. Still is one of my favorite bands. Do we even know what it is?
Hopefully
I believe it's one star consuming another. Oh, of course it's a shot. Yeah, so that you can't get to the truth. Okay, Starfucker. Science. Definition. This is interesting because I'm asking myself this. A person who seeks to have sexual relations with celebrities. Huh. Okay. Groupie. A person who seeks to associate with famous or powerful people. Okay. All right. Man, maybe I was star fucking Terrence a little too hard. Whatever, dude. Everyone's a fucking star. We're all star fuckers. We should all talk good and positive and lovely about each other in bountiful amounts. The fuck is keeping us back from that? Anyway, I thought Starfucker was a star consuming another star. Smoke rings consume. What do smoke rings consume? What is a torus consuming? You know, back to the image chat here. Skype. Walt Disney. What is Walt Disney consuming? Hide. I'm trying to go to the Skype here. Oh, I made the window small. And the chat thing small. I was playing with sizes. All right. Disney. Disney consumes stories, already existing stories. It retells those already existing stories. It regurgitates them. It looks like we have a lot of chat here in the chats. I was trying to find the image here, but my computer's slow and it's bogging down. But Walt Disney also consumes human minds. Walt Disney, we are all products of Disney. We are Disney children, whether we like it or not. We are Walt Disney children. And there's a place and a land that the government was trying to build. And this place and this land is Disney World, Walt Disney World. They were trying to build the perfect society to bring people in for various reasons. And while they were trying to do that, they conveniently stole our childhood imaginations and replaced it with Sleeping Beauty and kissing sleeping women and seeking princes and seeking big buff dumb men and all this other propaganda. You know, what happened to going out in the field and showing your child the wonderment of nature? You know, take it in your own hands. Generativity, be generative. All of these sentiments that I'm sharing have to do with digesting, consuming, and geometry and government. Geometry as the mechanism or function of consumption. The first guts on planet, when they formed, they were tubes. A tube with one end to the other. That's a cobordism. This is the basic studies of cobordisms. Cobordisms are basically tubes. We've gone through this on many of the episodes, and it's homeomorphisms that's happening. Our gut forms using viscera and microviscera, so that it has fingers inside fingers inside fingers inside fingers. That's what your stomach is. Your stomach and guts and the lining of your intestines have these fingers and phalanges. Let's see if I can find them. Microviscera. Viscera, I don't know. Here it is. Villus, microvillus. Villus! It's always a V word, isn't it, when we get to the hairs? E-I-L-L-U-S. Microvillus. Here we go. Images. Oh! It's helical. Boom. Duh. Look at that. Actin filament. Fuck yeah, dude. I love finding new helical structures. Count me in, bro. Actin filament. Okay, A-C-T-I-N. We'll get to the bottom of the geometry of actin. That's freaking sweet. I'm in my new book. I'm always doing journals, always have journals, always writing. Started a new book because I'm jam-packed. That's why I'm like having a hard time ciphering through my notes today. It's in like 4 different spots in 4 different pages because I had no empty spots in my book. I suggest everyone journal, please. It's very good for all of us. So, plasma membrane, villus, actin filaments. These are inside of our guts. There's it's really cool because it maximizes the surface area so it can take in the nutrients as best as it possibly can. And there is an organism that was just recently found that doesn't have a mouth or an anus. And it eats whale bones. Oh man, that shows how bad of a speller I am. I got to go back to school. Man, how do you spell whale? W-H-A-L-E. Okay, whale bone. You guys still here? Worms.
I'm here.
Cool, making sure it's not broken. Okay, so look at these guys. These worms, they were new creatures, zombie worms. They eat I can't say eat because they don't have a mouth. It's fucking nuts. Or an anus, and they're a tube. Now what happens here?
Are they just absorbing?
Yeah, what happens here is there's
osmosis.
There's a bacteria that deteriorates. I don't know if it self-produces this bacteria, but this bacteria disintegrates the bone, and the worm is just burrowing into the bone. So the worm's MO is to burrow, and it burrows into the whale. And I've often found seashells with holes all through them, and I'm wondering if that was from these worms too. That would make sense because bones and seashells are similar shapes. But those are my favorite shells, are the deteriorated shells, because life is so much more beautiful when you look at the vestige of it and you look at history in your hands, you know, and you're like, damn, that shit's cool. That's ancient. But yeah, this looks like a cartoon. So let's see if we can get a real, at least some images of these guys. Here they are. Oh yeah. First creatures that we know of. Acid to eat whale bones. Dined on marine. Okay, so, oh, here we go. I happened to flip to the page here. Digestion is a history of life. Things started getting big when guts started to develop. That's when life started to form. Teeth started to form, cloaca, eating machines. Cloaca is a machine that eats flesh. Now, DARPA has come up with a flesh-eating machine as well. We give all power to the technocracy, and we have not supervised or created oversight for any of these organizations. They are now the new government of the world. And now they're building machines to eat flesh and for just the energy of the machine. These machines are getting better and better through companies like Boston Dynamics that Google already bought, and Alphabet has split its arms apart, so its left hand doesn't know what its right hand's doing, and its right hand doesn't know what its left hand is doing. And we're building these crazy machines that actually have digestive tracts. Now, what does your computer eat? Charge, okay? We have figured out the ultimate alchemy in the universe, how to turn sand into information and circuits and deliver this using electricity and charge. So just by turning sand into, that's why it's called Silicon Valley, because it's all silicon. Now Silicon Valley moved to China, and then all this shit went down. Most likely because of something similar to but who knows, I could be wrong, social credit score, but I've never seen any other people in the world wear as many masks as people in China. I used to always watch and be like, Mom, when I was growing up, why do they always wear those? Well, because the pollution. Well, because the pollution. Now everybody is doing it. And well, a lot of people. And it just makes me a little apprehensive to not notice patterns and have pattern recognition to see what we're all moving towards as collaborative consumption, a one world government, a unified religion, unified new world order. The UNNWO just came out with their website, United Nations New World Order. Boom. And YouTube. What, did they take it down already? UNNWO. Oh, I did NU. I knew you. Okay, UNNWO, UnitedNations.org. Now, all throughout the 80s and 90s, it was conspiracy, and you were a conspiracy theorist if you were to talk about the New World Order. Let me enlighten the whole fucking world to something called Operation PatCon. PatCon. New America. About half were targeted by the law enforcement using infiltration techniques, confidential informants, undercover operatives. Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's just pause that for a minute and go back to where we were talking. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was very, very much considered you were a fucking conspiracy theorist nut. Actually, in the 90s, okay? Now, I forget the exact gentleman's name who came up with the term conspiracy theory, but nonetheless, in 1995, no other than Joe Biden, who's always been in the White House, like Hillary, they've never left the kingdom. They are there. Why do you think he's the only person they got? Because in 1995, Joe Biden put into activation and proposed Omnibus Act, which, 93. Okay, Omnibus Bill. Omnibus Bill is a proposed law that covers a number of diverse or unrelated topics. Omnibus is delivered from Latin, meaning for everything, and Omnibus Bill is a single document that is accepted in by a single vote by a legislature, but packages together several measures into one or combines diverse subjects. Now, the Omnibus Act, 2 months before Oklahoma City bombing happened, the Omnibus Act was brought and passed. And this all has to do, and Biden himself said that the Omnibus Act laid down the foundations and paved the way for the Patriot Act, directly connected. Now, this all happened during another operation that was going on called Operation PatCon. Operation PatCon and Patriot games, war games, germ games. Since September 2011, or September 11th, 2001, more than 300 U.S. residents have been persecuted for crimes relating to a homegrown terrorism. About half were targeted by law enforcement using infiltration techniques, confidential informants, undercover operations, or in some cases, both. The use of infiltration has grown increasingly controversial, particularly within the American Muslim community, where many of these techniques as bordering on entrapment. George Soros is paying rioters and paying people to go out in the street, paid protests. It's not illegal. In fact, I kind of support it because I think everybody should be able to pay people to go out on the streets to protest if they want to. Now, George Soros started Black Lives Matter. If you go to Black Lives Matter and you want to be part of his thing, you can go to it, and you can also find a link there that will lead you to his campaign himself, and you can go and he will pay you directly, George Soros. And there's buses moving around the country right now doing this. This fucked up. Okay, now this should be a crime against humanity. Paid provocateurs, agent provocateurs. This has been going on for a long time if you're kind of skimming over some of what I'm showing here. But Ruby Ridge, Waco, Oklahoma City bombing, and 9/11, as probably as well as what's going on right now with COVID-19, are all part of Operation PatCon, which is short for Patriot Conspiracy. Patriot Conspiracy. Now, this has worked fully because they're spin doctors. So if you call everyone conspiracy theorists like Joe Rogan does, and then says that they're also bipolar and they should go into an institution, and then he goes off and talks about conspiracy theorists with the top conspiracy theorists on the planet, Alex Jones and him and other people. Now that's a dichotomy. That's two. He's playing both sides of the field here. Now they're setting everybody up for if you're part of a conspiracy theorist and you think that 9/11 was a conspiracy, then you're insane and you should go to a mental institution that's just around the door. Meanwhile, at the same time, or if you say the UN is taking over and becoming the fucking New World Order, they'll call you a crazy conspiracy theorist too, even though they just fucking changed their website to it. 10 billionth happy. Okay, now it's all about this new religion. The new religion is happyism or some shit. Whatever this 10 billion happy shit is. Now, the amount of sexual abuse from the United Nations is larger than any other organization in the world, what I hear. Just information that I hear. Could be correct, might not be. But they do not investigate their organization. So these sex crimes against the world go because the people move from city to city, country to country. Something happens, they're pulled out and removed. You know, like they mastered the papacy. They mastered how to molest and move from one edifice to another edifice, one building to another building, and still continue what they're doing because they're all in cahoots. They, New World Order, United Nations. When you look up their Agenda 2030, they put out everything that they want us to cohere by, so you can naturally make yourself look pretty for them and boost up whatever fake ass morale you want to put on to try to make it all one big pot that you can stir and say, hey, we're all the same. What I look at when I go out in the universe is I see every fucking plant is different. Every human is different. There's so many different types of rats and mice, and there's more types of bats out there than there are types of rats, mice, cats, and dogs combined. And they all look different. We are different species. We're not one fucking species. get it out of your goddamn fucking heads that we're united under one religion, under one mentality. Tell me what to do. If you don't, you're dead. When you listen to the highest politics and procedures right now, they're saying the United Nations. They're saying, join us or die. This is, you're with us or you're against us. That's what's going on. It's creating us versus them. And the dictionary, Webster's dictionary, just changed their definition of racism to pretty much say that people of color are one race and white people are of another race. So automatically there's more division. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, okay, I see a divided world with many different beautiful religions. Some of them practice really fucked up shit. Who are we to go in there and tell them they can't and you have to do this now? Are we the thought police? Are we the body police? Is the United Nations and the Georgia Guidestones our future? Do we want to be in germ games? Where the fuck is the bill that said I signed up for germ games? Germ games, motherfucker. Yeah, I can't spell. Fuck you. In June 2001, a group of government officials and journalists play-acted their way through a germ game. A fictional scenario in which the then obscure terrorist group called Al-Qaeda set off an outbreak of smallpox in U.S. shopping malls. Yeah, right before World Trade Center, the war game that was happening during the war game. When you look up Bill Gates quotes, he said in 2015, we need more germ games. The last time we did a germ game was in 2001. We need more germ games. In 2015, he said this. Fast forward to 2020 in this world that we're in today, where I see all small mom and pop shops fucked up. I see chopped up motherfuckers chopped liver. That's what I see. And I don't care if I use Ebonics and I'm emphatic on my goddamn words, or if I use a different voice where I use an accent like I'm Mexican and then the next minute I'm acting like a Chinese. People play all the time. Stop making people out to be so damn racist when they're just playing most of the time. There's stereotypes because they exist for a reason, because we're different people. We're different organisms. A rat is different than a mouse. A Irishman is different than a Germanman. A purebred Hispanic is different than a Chinese man. This needs to be recognized as uniqueness, not globalism. I mean, I don't know what else to say here. To me, it's obvious. We can drone our way with the sheeple to our deaths, or we can stand up, united in our independence and uniqueness. United. Either way, it's united. But I like the unification of diversification. And the globalists don't like that, because their new religion is happyism. Yeah, happyism. Here it is. And you know what that involves? A lot of drugs from Google's pharmacy, because Google has their own pharmacies. Yeah, about eight or 3 different pharmacies of their own. Google. They're going to give you happy pills. In fact, we're already taking them. And there's smart dust and all sorts of fucked up things. Happyism. I think it's that UN. Yeah, United Nations. Okay. UN. United Nations happyism. You can't make this shit up, dude. This is on their site. This is what I like to expose, is them from their sites so we can all see it together. If that's not a bullseye, I don't know what is. Between two ferns. Thanks, Zach Galifianakis. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, yeah, they're new.
Hey, don't be talking shit about Zach Galifianakis now. That's where
Hey,
I
I
draw
love
the
him,
line.
but hey,
That's where I draw the fucking line, buddy.
I'll go on his show. I will have him humiliate me with courage and loving endearment. Give me a big hug. Come on, Galifianakis.
He is the precious creature, that man.
So when you look at, okay, let me give you an example of globalism and a democratic approach from globalism, because I'm none of this shit. I don't look at this stuff and I don't vibrate with it and have it as part of me. So anyway, so happyism, yeah, I can't even see it. Maybe I'm scrolling too fast, but yeah, it's basically their new religion. That's the new religion for the UN. Everybody just be happy. We'll give you your pills. Here, we'll give you free internet. Can't you just be oh, we'll subsidize your income. You're not happy yet? Oh, well, now we know exactly how much you spend. Oh, we're cutting your income off. Oh, you can't eat anymore? Global starvation is the future. They have to starve us into cooperation, and we all will cooperate once we have to feed our families. Unfortunately, that's what creates zombies, when everybody gets hungry and you have to feed your family. Okay, so at a crustaceans, the first life forms, crustaceans. Let me see if I can even find these. EDI, because I hear these words and I have to write them down without spelling them sometimes. Taxonomic period declassification consists of all life forms that were present on Earth during this period. Okay, so all creatures on life were these, and they maximized their surface area so they could build skins and take in nutrients from the planet. Then all of a sudden the Cambrian period happened, and the Cambrian explosion. And I said this already, but this is really important because creatures couldn't get large until this point. They could only get a certain size, and then they started building teeth so they could consume. Then they had to build guts, more complex guts. They say jellyfish were most likely some of the first guts that there were. Yeah, Earth developed guts at the Cambrian explosion. That's beautiful. Now I think that Earth is the guts of the solar system, because if the head of the solar system, or the local chimney, is the sun, then like the stomach could be thought of as like Earth, and the sounds that the stomach is making is the auroras, and the mimicry of the sounds that are being made are being formed into shapes like diatoms that fall down brine tubes and create certain geometries out of glass. These geometries are eaten by these creatures, and it's all geometric because it's charge condensing down into broken down layers, becoming more and more efficient. So it's the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail, all of nature, and the food cycle. If we could redraw the food cycle using the Doherty set, it would be a lot more accurate. Personally, I think. Now, wrapping all tubes and creatures inside of tubes like they're already digesting and eating each other because they are. Then you have outer layers of tubes, inner layers of tubes. You have peristalsis that's formed, wave-like undulations in the Birkeland current that deliver information and seeds galactic insemination through warped layers inside of Birkeland currents. Peristalsis is the outermost of the gut of the intestines, and it's a tube muscle that undulates information, moving it down, pushing it further into itself or system so it can digest more information. Or nutrients. So I came up with something. What I just described is the Doherty effect. That's what I'm naming it. Peristalsis of filaments as transverse waves of information and package delivery system. The Doherty effect. It is like alphane waves. Let me show you here. Alphane waves that are moving and distributing this energy inside of the Birkeland current. Okay, where's your alphane waves? I know it's spelled wrong. LFV. That's closer. There it is. Ooh, they don't want us to see it. Dude, did you see that? It just disappeared. Okay, here we go. Alphane waves. Waves in physics. Yeah. Yeah, boy. Mm-hmm. Okay. Motion inside of plasma. Wave-like undulations. I'm taking the alphane waves and turning it into an effect. The Doherty effect is peristalsis of the filaments, this wave-like undulation in the filament as a transverse wave, delivering information as a package or information delivery system. And I think that's a way how you could get Alcubierre warp drives as well, using plasma warp drives, basically. The science and geometry that we deal with on a daily basis here in the show or weekly basis is high propulsion energy of physics, and this is the future of how we're going to move through space colonization. There's information that you need to know. See, look at this. Okay, wave in process, accelerating electrons in parallel electric field, chromosome, Alphean wave packet. Oh, looks like they already came up with it. Damn. Delivering packages of information using the Alphane waves. Okay, so yeah, well, at least my intuition's headed in the right direction here, because this is really what it's all about here. Alphane waves in the lower solar atmosphere, and they break up, and basically, this is similar to the geometry of the wave-like undulation. I have better images and better drawings of it, but you can see that this is the same thing, periscopic. Okay. here's the bubble moving through, and every single gate has a different bubble and a different dynamism. And if we start saying that gate 1 is the same as gate 2 and gate 3, and it's a universe of everything, the crickets speak the same language, and it's like, okay, I can see the transformation occurring, being very beautiful and enlightening, almost enrapturing, like floating together with this new paradigm shift, and we all ascend into this new understanding of happiness. I'd love to believe that, but the road to hell, or wait, the road to the road to heaven or wherever is paved in good intentions. The road to hell is paved in good intentions. That's the word. That's the saying. The road to hell is paved in good intentions. You can see beautiful things in all cultures, and there's dark things in all cultures too. And every corporation and organization, because we're all individual and we bring our own unique twang to things. So as these waves move through space, they eat away and they cavitate and they whistle, and the creatures hear this dormant whistling inside the planet, and they slowly form layers by layer by layer until they come out of each other. And what's a fractal? In a fractal universe, what's the best thing a fractal can do? Is self-replicate. So the self-replication occurs through sonic induction, electrosonic induction of these larger circuits that are directly connected to sound that's moving, because sound is a pressure wave, matter to form into certain patterns. We have shells, we have jellyfish, octopus, human bodies, every single form in all DNA is connected to every other form in DNA, meaning that we all have common ancestors. And nothing here is an alien, but we're all alien, but we all come out of the same source. Even octopus that has blue blood, octopuses, they have blue blood. And we thought for sure that their DNA was the most strange, but even them, they're connected to other phylotactic clades and different phylums that are connected. Nothing is separated. So should we have a religion like that, where nothing's separated and it's all one? It's all connected. I mean, it sounds so nice and so beautiful, but I don't know if that's the right way. I love our independence. I love meeting new cultures. I love eating new foods. And if all of our food is from Monsanto and all of our drugs is from Google, and the technocracy continues, they will tell us that we can't have thoughts. Elon Musk was already on Rogan's show saying we can't have certain thoughts. They're bad. They're viruses. That's what he's most afraid of now, is other humans' thoughts. Poor Elon. So let me talk about the future as collaborative consumption. We already did that. Reputation based on the currency of our currency of the future's reputation. Grow, glow, share with all of the machine. But during germ games, collaborative consumption doesn't work. It can't work. So it all comes from Amazon or Google or all these different stores that are online, Alibaba, these online mega markets that are billionaires becoming more billionaire. This is Don Scott's first email to me showing me the Bessel function. You can see the ripple of the Bessel function, the Doherty set, the spherical undulation pulsating, the head of a drum beating on a drum, and the geometries coming out of it are spiral, and they make you sing, they make you dance, they make you get in tune, they create entrainment, they induce a feeling. Everything is sonic. Everything is sonic. That's why probably why Jim Carrey did Sonic the movie, because the motherfucker's the shit, even though he knew he wasn't going to make money on it, because the word Sonic is in it. So social credit score, us eating and consuming and growing as culture in the 1800s, there was no GDP increase. Nothing was growing. There was no growth to anything. We couldn't figure out how to grow. And then all of a sudden, Britain created fripperies. And fripperies are hats, gloves, hair clips, and it's what made the countries rich again. Fripperies. This isn't the first time this happened. This keeps happening. The rich become richer, and the wealth disparity grows. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. There's a divide. That is the operative. That's what's going on here. Now, isn't that fucked up? Hats, gloves, hair clips, that kind of stuff saved these economies. Things that we don't need. Shopping for pleasure was the new norm. Shopping for pleasure. And that's what they did. They gave us all stimulus checks and told us all to stay home, relax with our families. And, oh, by the way, you got to get to work still, so make sure we can see you. So put those eyeballs everywhere. And I went to Electric Eyes Everywhere earlier. I don't know if EU Eyes knows this or not, but Michael Jackson and his song, it was up earlier. I forget the name of the song. It's like, oh, Human Nature. Tell him that it's human nature. Why? In that song, he's like, electric eyes everywhere. I can't sing like Michael Jackson, sorry, but and it's just, it made me fucking realize something. That's what's going on. That's the future. We're going to be able to go in and continue to look through these electric fossilized neural networks of people downloading your house. These walls can talk now, and that's being downloaded as data, and they're selling the data. Oh, honey, if we only have a new toaster, honey, can we get a toaster? Boom, toaster, Google, ad, #1 ad agency in the world, Google. Guess where the street market is now? Google. Google has become Wall Street. Google has become Main Street. Main Street is now online, and Google ad revenue, and Google and YouTube, because Google owns YouTube, are the two #1 ad agencies in the world. Now, this is consumption. How does one company consume another? I wanted to show a little video. Let me see if I can pull up a video here of companies eating companies, because you get to see in real time, like, company growth video, company growth video. Maybe we can get, yeah, this is the one. They're all so good. Watching these is understanding the geometry of digestion, consumption, and so, which is compression and rarefaction. So how companies organize and work is the geometry of systems, system engineering, how systems work, and how networks flow. You can study all this stuff by one book, one guy that I suggest you look up, Jeffrey West. Jeffrey West. Whoops, I hit the Zuckerberg. Jeffrey. He wrote a book called Scale. And I'm going to talk about his book for a couple seconds. Then we're going to watch these charts. And oh, that's what I want to do. I want to see books. Okay. Because all I need to do is read the read the title to you. And it's like, oh, yes, that's what I need. That's what we all need. This is why he's like the #1, like top 5 or 15 people in Forbes magazine for influential. He's awesome. He put together, he's out in Santa Fe Institute, I think. He put together from hundreds of people, thousands of data points, compression analysis of the universal laws of growth, innovation, sustainability, and the pace of life in organisms, cities, economies, and companies. This subtitle has since been changed. I think I have the book right here. Yeah, I got the old title right here, guys. So I'm looking at the book, and it's the exact same book, but the subtitle says, The Universal Laws of Life, Growth, and Death in Organisms, Cities, and Companies. Either way, it's very intriguing. Now, you can understand negentropy, entropy as cavitative geometric forces that are working as intelligent business machines, thinkers, thinking. What was IBM's logo forever, their motto? Think. They took think away, and after computers started to get going, because they're like, shit, dude, we can't have these people thinking. What are you thinking? So they took think away. And our thoughts are what's going to carve the future organisms into the ways that we desire the future, or the future people on Earth. So ingestion is the mechanical breakdown. Ingestion is taking in food. When we take food and we put it in our mouth and chew it with our teeth, it's mechanical breakdown, also known as mastication. Our salival ducts are released and with thickets of heightened passion, as well as food, and just the thought of food and looking at food releases enzymes, as well as, which is inside of our spit, that actually start breaking down the food before it even goes down our first little sphincter there. And then it's from one sphincter to the next 88 sphincters. Your GI, your gastrointestinal tract, opens and closes with toroidal muscles. Toroid, again, sphincters. How many sphincters does the human body have? Let's see. Does the human body have? Not the first time I've typed this question. 60, over 60 types of sphincters. Some are microscopically small, in particular the millions of precapillary sphincters. Sphincters relax at death, often releasing fluids and feces. All day long, we're tense inside of our stomach and all over, because these are opening and closing and moving things. We can never relax fully, or you lose your bowels. So if you've gone that far into the universe where you lose your bowels, it's like, man, I went all the way in, didn't I? Where you just like shit your pants, you're like, oh my gosh. That right there is the universe.
It's like a rite of passage, is it?
where you take just enough of a substance and you go all the way into the universe, and you're like, you wake back up and you're like, man, I lost my bowels. Haven't had it happen yet, but I know it's possible. If you don't die and ascend while you're in there.
I've heard stories. I've heard some stories.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, yeah, teeth, the teeth of electricity. Now we're gonna get into some weird shit. As if we weren't into some weird shit already. The teeth of electricity is geometric. What is the teeth of the government? Does the government have teeth? Now, I can tell you one thing, there's an adult mouth has, on average, 32 teeth, unless you get some pulled. So, the name of the teeth that fall out, another name of the baby teeth is deciduous teeth, because they fall out like leaves. Deciduous trees, the leaves fall out. So here we are to the question again. What is the teeth of the government? What is those jagged teeth of the government? Suicided? For some reason that seems like a teethy topic. Something you can sink your teeth into. When people say a little too much, sometimes they get suicided, or when they know a little too much. And that is like a bite from a big creature saying, hey, look, look, little fishies, if you say something, you also will end up like this. And so governments often rule through oppression with killing, as they've done for long time. Every kingdom and every principality or power is consuming. They are heads. Everything comes to a head. Flowers come to a head. They seed, they fern, they proliferate, they reproduce. In all governments, if you don't have a stronghold or, unfortunately, an army, then you will most likely be crushed. And I will say this, I will read a passage here now from Machiavelli, chapter 5, why the kingdom of Darius conquered by Alexander did not rebel against the successor of Alexander at his death. It's kind of in the middle of a topic, but the contrary happens in kingdoms governed like that of France, because one can easily enter there by gaining over some baron of the kingdom. One can easily enter there by gaining over some baron of the kingdom. By one person like Soros and his movement. For one always finds malcontents and such as desired a change. Those are the people on the streets protesting. Such men, for reasons given, can open the way into the state and render the victory easy. But if you wish to hold it afterwards, you meet with infinite difficulties, both from those who have assisted you and from those you have crushed. Nor is it enough for you to have exterminated the family of the prince, because the lords that remain make themselves the heads of the fresh movement against you. And as you are unable either to satisfy or exterminate them, that state is lost whenever time brings the opportunity. So that can be thought of as going into a kingdom and trying to take a kingdom over. This is why kingdoms work so well in Spain and Italy and France, and in the Roman Catholic Church, because they put up kings, dukes, duchesses. One person comes in and tries to take over. Sure, they can kill the king, but it's not long before the country who was free before the oppressive ruler is going to overtake that oppressive ruler, because there's so many of them and the wealth is distributed amongst the community. And oftentimes always married into wealth You can see king marrying king, power, principality marrying principality, money marrying money, and that's what can keep a long-lasting organism. It has worked for a long time on the planet. Who am I to say that's right or wrong? You know what I mean? But when these things are remembered, no one will marvel at the ease. When these things are remembered, no one will marvel at the ease with which Alexander held the emperor of Asia, or at the difficulties which others have had to keep in acquisition, such as Pyrrhus and many more. This is not occasioned by the little or abundance of ability in the conqueror, but by the want of uniformity in the subject state. By the want of uniformity in the subject state. You can move mass herds by the want of uniformity. And that's what Soros and other people do, because there's chaos magic and there's chaos things going on here. Now, touching back on Biden and the government that's been in office, that's the whole purpose of FEMA, is to keep those principalities and their cronies in office. That's the end of it. That's what the FEMA is, to keep the rich or cronies, friends, family members, the nepotism that's going on inside of these larger principalities in power, and keep them in power. That's why Biden is the only best thing that they have, because Biden laid down the foot rules for all of this to happen in the back of the scenes the whole time, like Hillary did, until she came out to the front, until she was cephalized as head of possible Democratic or Republican. It's always a dual-headed system, because that's how you can deceive and convince and maintain power over the people. The dual-headed system, because it's double-headed talk. You could play both sides of the field, fund both sides, and always win every time. So that's how government stays in power and consumes other government. And we always have to remember, it's just history that we kill each other. And then, oh, hey, well, France is France now, and it has this country. And, oh, well, the government, the United States is now the UN, and the UN took over the world, and now it's just a global thing. You know, where are we doing? What are we doing? We're the little men, and we have a voice. I'm not saying anybody do anything. This is just information. And I see things through a geometric prism or perspective. Love is watching type of eyes. And I'm here to share some of the stuff that I find. And here's another passage. Whenever those states which have been acquired as stated have been accustomed to live under their own laws and in freedom, this is great. There are three courses. Okay, I'll start over. This is chapter 5 in The Prince by Machiavelli. Whenever those states which have been acquired as states have been accustomed to live under their own laws and in freedom, there are three courses for those who wish to hold them. And the first is to ruin them. The next is to reside in their person. The third is to permit them to live under their own laws, drawing a tribute and establishing within an oligarchy which will keep it friendly to you. Because such a government, being created by the prince, knows that it cannot stand without his friendship and interests, and does it utmost to support him. This is the part. And therefore, he who would keep a city accustomed to freedom will hold it more easily by the means of its own citizens than in any other way. I'll repeat that last part. Therefore, he who would keep a city accustomed to freedom, like we're used to, the pseudo-freedoms in the United States, but it is very free, will hold it more easily by the means of its own citizens than in any other way. Pay the citizens to protest, and you will hold your position. Who else made it to mom and pop farms this last month? BLM, Black Lives Matter. White little girls in Chelsea, Michigan, holding a BLM sign. I'm like, are you paid? She's like, yeah. I'm like, all right. I don't care to have more of a conversation. Soros, it's not hidden. Everyone knows it's happening. Now, Google has promised 4 years ago that they would not let Trump win again. This was 4 years ago. Right about the same time, Bill Gates was calling for more germ games. And then the FCC lifted up their regulations in 2000, maybe 13, 15, 18, something like that, where they were allowed to manufacture lethal weapons, that viruses. They opened up a little loophole where they were allowed to, for a few months, to create germs and biological weapons, and then they closed the gap again. These doctors are the ones that are now being investigated, working directly with Wuhan and other places, and it was probably all 100% legal. Everything was good and kosher. Nobody thought anything bad was going on until the hero comes in, makes a movie of him, makes a Netflix series about him being a hero, and that we all need vaccinated. And vaccination, time and time again, is for larger government reasons and experiments. So if you want to go out and get something put inside your body intravenously by someone else, hell, I would even say those cotton swabs, those motherfuckers probably are poisonous, that they're shoving down people's noses. Okay, go to Starbucks, take one of the wooden stir sticks and taste it. It tastes like poison. Taste it. The wooden stick, just put it in your mouth. It tastes like arsenic. Starbucks just bought, we don't even need to talk. Oh, Starbucks just bought Joe Rogan. Let's talk about it. Yeah. Why did Starbucks buy Joe Rogan? Oh, I didn't know Starbucks. Oh, no, it's Spotify. Spotify bought him. Guess who owns Spotify? Starbucks. Consumption of companies. Now we're going to watch the consumption of companies, a video of companies growing. 10 most valuable companies in the world from 1997 to 2019. Let's do that. This is the geometry of consumption. This is visual data. This is not sonified data. This is visualizing data. So data compression into charts that are understandable with numbers and figures that are extremely easy to see. One company swallowing another company. Let's put it on full scale here and talk. Got 4 minutes and 28 seconds. Oh, GE's at the top of it in 1997. Yeah, we can go back to 1900 and see where GE is. GE's right at the fucking top. The whole, for almost 100 years. Still there. Okay. 1999. Okay, so here's the date, the year. Oh yeah, Microsoft's just 2000. Okay, this was Y2K bang, Y2K boom. Oh, GE came over. Let's see 2001. See if 2001 gets Microsoft back up. Here. Oh, I don't know. Ooh, Cisco. Wait. Oh, that's government. Cisco is government security. I know that the guy who was president of parts of it, or I met him a couple times. I went on his farm. I have no affiliation, but I was just working at a sign company when I met him, and he owns a bison farm, like organic bison. So that was pretty cool meeting him. It's Johnson & Johnson. Oh, baby powder. At this day and time, they had baby powder. Oh, all of these companies have huge problems in lawsuits with the world generally on a regular. Johnson & Johnson had, what is it? asbestos in their baby powder for the past 60 years and they knew it and they didn't say anything? Yeah, get out of here. Get out of the top. Yep, thank you. All right, HSBC. Oh, more banking. Bank, Toyota. Ooh, what's going on here? Microsoft. Oh, shit. Oil boom, 2006. Here we go. Oil boom. This is, that was like, what's his name? Bush. W. Bush was in office before, like around this time. Oh, wait, right. Before, I don't know. But, oh, damn, PetroChina. Who you at? Where you dicking, son? You got General Electric. I mean, to me, this is interesting to watch, whether you listen to what my commentary is or not. AT&T, they're going to come up to the very top. PetroChina, so dollars, 09, still a huge moneymaker. Microsoft, Apple, oh shit, 2010, oh shit, here comes Apple. Technocracy, wait, is it oil that we should make money on? No, that kills, oh wait, well, it doesn't matter how many people we kill, let's just make money. Wait, banking? Yeah, oh yeah, dude, people are so stupid, we just rip them and rape them of their money. Oh yeah, okay, wait, Apple? Microsoft? Yeah, let's get back on track here, guys. This is the moneymaker. Yep, we can manipulate people, we can track everyone. Oh, actually, yeah, tracking everything. Let's not tell them that we're tracking them. Oh, let's tell them that we're tracking them and introduce someone named Snowden and say, let's see how they react when we tell them that we've been spying on them for 20 years. Oh, no rioting in the streets. No one even sued us. No one even cared. Not one person stood up. But when people have police brutality, yeah, people stand up. When there's other big things going on, massive problems in the world, it seems like we turn our head. When we could petition against Microsoft, Google, Apple. This is what I'm saying. Facebook, Amazon, they're coming to the top, baby. They're climbing all the way to the top. They're in control of your food, what you eat, what you watch, what you buy, what you do. They're watching you. They're listening to you. They're making sure that you do what they want you to do. And they're going to subsidize you to make sure that you pay what needs to be. Oh, Amazon's coming all the way to the top, motherfucker. Here it is, 2018. Oh, we lived through that year. This isn't too far off. Here comes 2019. Boom. Bill Gates is like, hey, I got a bigger yacht than you. Yep. And then they compete as to the next year who has a bigger yacht, Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos. And then they build 10 feet on the end of their yacht so they can see who has a bigger yacht. So, yeah, I'm passionate about this, but what are we going to do about this? You know, the system's eating itself. Let's make money off of it. Let's eat. Let's grow. Get our mindset for abundance, thankfulness, and gratitude. I mean, there's
main course was the appetizer.
Exactly. There's an appetizer, there's a main course, there's dessert. What's for dessert? Sucrosa. Sucrosa is the outermost layer of the intestines that's connected to other muscles and ligaments. The sucrosa. Let's take the sucrosa of these currents and these chi energies that are braided from power sources of beings that work with indigenous and endogenous energy and plasma and flow, and do what Yokozuna, these power moves that shake mountains and move hearts. We have the future in our hands. We have a say in what others consume. We are a product. The geometric view is a love is watching product. People are consuming us. What are we going to tell them? What do they want? Here, look, here's season 1. Boom. I put it together today before. Now you can look up the whole season. There's season 2 on there now as its own its own playlist. What are we gonna, there's enzymes, there's absorption, there's excretion. Are we the shit? Are we poop coming out of the sun? Is this a scientific way for us to say, look, dude, we're the shit? Look, dude, that's hot. That's cold. That's cool. You know, what are you doing? I'm feeling blue. You know, there's sayings, there's words, there's bridges that need to be gapped. There's a word called ghrelin. Ghrelin. Ghrelin is the chemical that is responsible for making people feel hungry. Ghrelin. What are you doing tonight? You growling? Yeah, I'm gelling. Yeah, we growling together. Let's see. Growl. You know, if Brian was here, he'd be like, oh my gosh, because of the words, you know. Grellin. Ghrelin. This is a newfound chemical. Ghrelin. I don't know how to spell it because I hear these words and I write them down sometimes. So chemical. What's like a digestive enzyme? Yeah, here it is. Watch, it's helical. Duh. Okay.
Nice.
Ghrelin is a hormone that is produced and released mainly by the stomach, with small amounts also released by the stomach intestines, pancreas, and brain. Ghrelin has numerous functions. It is termed the hunger hormone. Oh, Hunger Games. Okay, so there's germ games. Oh, why is everybody obese in America? Were they doing Hunger Games without telling us? Okay, war games, germ games. This is all fucking consumption. They're eating us. They're consuming and digesting us, but we are, you know? Okay, so ghrelin, let's see what the images look like here. Yep. Helical. It's all helical, man. Looks like some toroidal rings here, circuits. So why is this important? Have we looked up war games yet? War games. 9/11 was a war game. It's a fact. Fucking look it up. 1983, American Cold War science fiction film. Okay. Ooh, actually, it's a movie. We should watch it. Now I remember that it's a movie, but I've never seen it. Okay. Old Matthew Broderick. Good old Matthew. I want to fucking see that movie, dude. Okay, of course it's a movie because they always put a movie or a song or something to hide the truth, so it's on the first on the look, and I'm sure it's not on purpose. It's just that we naturally have a proclivity to what Hollywood puts out. War games. Now I can't even find government. Okay, what? Government. Yeah. War games, government. Okay. Value of war games and government. Government's military simulation, Wikipedia. Oh, now they're calling it. Oh, they switched the term. Now it's called military simulation. No longer called war games. Okay. Also known informally as war games are simulations in which theories of warfare can be tested and refined without the need of actual hostilities. And you know, the war game of 9/11 led to the Patriot Act. So you can see Biden from 1995 to through the entire fucking thing, talking to all these adults that are having children that are growing, and he gropes and smells and talks to them in their ears, whispers to all these different people. I'm not saying Trump, but I'm just saying, look at Biden. Has anybody talked about this? Okay. 9/11 was a war game. Problems of simulation, military exercises. Yeah, just please look into it for yourself. 9/11 was a war game. Maybe I can just Google 9/11 war game and it'll just come up. Fine. Or should I do, what did it say, simulation? 9/11 war games. Oh, it's a documentary film. But yeah, it was a war game. That day, they were practicing on a hypothetical situation where the Twin Towers were going to be attacked by an aerial plane. So they were doing a simulation for that. That's what allowed the chaos and all of the people talking. So even if someone came on the record and said, look, we got a plane moving in, it's moving in real fast, it's gonna hit a building, people would think it was a simulation because it was all part of the game. And the game, the end game is wow, all these words: end game, Hunger Games, war games, starving, what else? Gaming, game theory. Oh wow, that goes right to game theory, and I know Brighton likes to talk about that, and I do too. Everything is a game. Why do creatures play? What is play? Creatures are playing all the time. They're playing games. You look at all animals and they play games to teach them how to act as an adult with hierarchical supervision of a species that was there before them. Or sorry, a fractal recursion that was there before them. Their parents. Parents produce progeny, and sometimes it's lucky if you have an older sibling there as a force field. Then the younger second sibling feels empowered, like that motherfucker can kick your ass so I can act however I want. That's kind of sort of the entitlement I had a little bit, because my brother was fucking, you know, German, Irish, Nordic people, and so it's just natural, like in our blood, well, his blood, to fight. I wasn't a fighter, but I was just like, you know, anyway, I was a fighter and am a fighter still, but I mean, like, as far as fighting, the bully that bullies the bullies in school, and they were, all of the kids that were bullied were very grateful for me to bully the bullies, because I would do it through psychiatric or psychological means, as well as, you know, verbal and any other type of means that I could beat the bully up with, that's beating the kids up with. And it always worked. Most likely because I had my brother, and so it's like, it's good to have like that force field, and that's like a bow shock that's at the front of a comet or any type of system. Look up bow shock. And if a system's moving, it's in digesting space or anything, it's going to have a bow shock or bow shock. I don't know, people, tomato, whatever the fuck. So, me like this, my brother's like, you know, out here like, and I'm like, motherfucker, you can't get me, you got to get past your hand to get me. And that's like all companies and organizations right now. Bill Gates is at the front, like, you know, motherfucker, but all of his companies are back here, like taking over the world with no oversight and no to little regulation. And that's why we got ourselves in this mess, and how we got ourselves in this mess of eating ourselves and producing new governments. And you can see that the universe craves novelty, because we exist alongside the seventh kingdom of us turning into the technium right now. We are witnessing it. We are watching ourselves become a larger global organization, a larger global organism. And that's why these companies became so big, and they're at the top of the money-making market. Of course, human trafficking is not on that list, but that's right at the top. And look at the people that are in the companies that are in cahoots with the global traffickers. So you can see that there's wickedness and principalities, and most kings think they're above government. They're above, and even King James and all of them, they wrote and let the Bible get written, and they said, yeah, go ahead, write it, I don't care, none of these laws apply to us, we're above the law, we are gods. And that's how government most of the time is dictated. That's why we have Hillary and her whole system of people that if you fuck with them, they die. This is Machiavellian. One of the most Machiavellian of all companies and organizations is the rap game. It's really hard to make it in the rap game because our voice is the cavitation element that is manipulating people into the charge of the force-free field-aligned current of the movement and momentum that people start. Individuals start megalithic movements and start at the bottom and work their way up, skyrocketing, like we saw those companies come out of nowhere. This is because they're optimizing their growth. They're optimizing their growth rates. They're optimizing, and they understand the principles that Walter Russell taught the world. Self-multiplication principles, becoming many different things, many different people. The Shiva concept of many different arms, but then how is the many different arms the destroyer? You know, like, are you destroying yourself because you're master of all trade, or master of all trades, master of none, or whatever it is? This idea of us being able to transform and cavitate the future is our voice. It's the largest powerhouse that we have, and now we have global circuits that fractalize and our voice into billions of streams around the world. So let's get our voices heard. Let's tell the truth, and let's not feel bad for showing people the truth that's already been shown by them, meaning the globalists. The truth is out there. They already exposed themselves. Now it's our job to expose them and show them for what they are. And we are they. They are we. We're working. We all need to talk to each other, and like the gut utterances. You play a healthy gut to a sick gut, and it'll become healthy. And you play the right frequencies and tunes into someone's head, and they become healthy. There's heart rate variability. You play the right heartbeat to your heart. Your heart hears a healthy heartbeat, and it becomes synchronized with it. All hearts synchronize. Sympathetic vibratory resonance is digestion. It's digesting another person's field. They walk out and they glow up a room with measurable amounts of light, lumens that are measurable. Healers go in and light up a room. That's why there's a light in the spark of people's eyes. We are luminescent. Life is illuminated. Not to be confused with people who might think that they're trying to hijack the show and calling Lucifer father and the luminiferous ether luminous. When the sperm goes in the egg, it illuminates. There's phosphorescence. There's zinc. The lighter, the more healthy the combination of the sperm going into the egg, because the egg chooses the sperm, not the other way around. The egg clearly would be the one that chooses, not the sperm. The egg is the brain. The egg has a charge, and it will only allow a charge that will work enter it. Now, yeah, sure, shit can get fucked up, and if the egg's already messed up when it lets in a messed up sperm, then, you know, babies can mutate or all sorts of weird things happen. But that's a clear path to eugenics that I see there, without hurting or harming anyone. Honestly, just if we can visualize and see, the brighter the spark, the more healthy, the more athletic, and the smarter the baby. That's clear to me that that's a way to go. If we are going to go the direction of transhumanism, and which we're very rapidly moving towards, I would suggest we do it that way. it might be interesting to see what kind of babies are produced with the healthiest types of connections through multiple races of people. But then you go to Jeffrey Epstein, and that's exactly what he was doing. On his own scale, he was procuring women and putting, basically he was Genghis Khanning it, trying to create his race of his blood with every other race on the planet and every other blood type. It wouldn't be that hard for any CEO, any rich person to do something like that. I don't even think it's inhumane. I mean, if you have people who are agreeing that want to have a baby and they pay for the sperm donor and everything's all legal on paperwork, and someone wants to have 78 kids and it's from 78 women who want to adopt and they all want the same guy, I don't see anything wrong with that. Maybe going about it with the legal channels that he was going about it, working with pedo rings and things like that, you know, and Jeff Bezos and fucking Trump and all these people were in cahoots with, you know, King Henry and all this other, or whatever his name is. It's just like there's these films, and the film is the thin layer of this is the dirt that we have on you. This is our blackmail. Now you do this and act in accordance with all of us in our group, or you're dead, because we have this on you, and we'll show this to the public, and it'll ruin your career, you know, and or land you in jail or killed by the people. Skull and Bones does the same thing. It's ruling by blackmail, and many skullduggery fucking groups do this kind of shit. And so secrecy promotes clandestine activities, whereas open source also produces clandestine activities, but it's shared to everyone, and it produces gigantic things like Google. So it's good to share your ideas ultimately. And I can't steer this episode anywhere because I'm very neutral with how I'm trying to present this information. I mean, digestion is like birth. We were shit out by the universe. We didn't ask to be here. We popped out as a solid with a microbiome of our own that thinks for itself and tells us when it's hungry. And, you know, possibly many minds of our own. If our crotch is considered a mind that says, hey, gotta get laid, gotta get laid, gotta get laid, like dogs and all other creatures doing dances for each other to get laid. Like, you know, like I said, dancing is consuming other people's attention. Putting content out there is, we're digesting content, you know, we're consumers. We want to be careful on the information that we consume. We want to, the saying that goes the best and resonates with me is, it's not about what goes in, it's about what comes out that's unhealthy. You could eat food that's sacrificed to an idol.
All content that we put forth is a consciousness highway. A consciousness highway, it takes a person on a journey to a very certain location of the mind. And what that is it's the digestion track of the future. It's moving into the future of what are humans going to turn into? What is their consciousness going to be? So it's very wise to pick and choose what you distract yourself with carefully, wisely, because ultimately what you watch, what you decide to choose to see and view and consume as a media consumer or even a media creator defines everything that you say, everyone that you talk to, who your friends are, and it defines how you impact them, their life choices, your life choices, and our entire future. Are we recycling plastic? Are we stealing coral from the reefs? Are we planting it, or are we using mushrooms to soak up oil spills instead of chemicals? Ultimately, what we read and what we push out and what we generate all comes back to these consciousness highways. A human is defined by, well, what has entered our brains. The totality of a human
it's our umwelt.
is
It's our worldview.
we fight to live, the way we communicate, the way we are all survival mechanisms to survive in this modern world, and they're all based on what we've watched, seen, heard, felt, and those are all sensations, all directed from consciousness highways.
And when people reward people based off of bad behavior, everyone sees it. And and it's weird that this happens all the time. Like NWA, fuck the police movement. The police were really, really scared in the 90s, dude. I lived through this shit. And the police were super afraid. They came and banned all the music. And NWA came out and did a song. The police of LA came out, or was it Detroit? I think Detroit came out and said, if you guys do a song here, if you guys play here, you're not allowed to play Fuck the Police because we're afraid that it'll create riots. They played Fuck the Police, and it's been a war for a long time against the police. Now, I was pretty unbiased for quite a while on what the fuck is going on here. And then I realized, wait, we live in a prison state. We can't let that happen and let that win. We need police regulation. We can't let this, we literally can't let them dictate what happens, because if we let this police state happen, then it's all downhill from there.
Hey, buddy, this is Richard. What's the title of this episode so I can follow the trail?
This is the geometry of consumption, digestion, and government, principalities.
All right, thanks. As far as the prison thing, I know I come from a state. I don't know if this applies to the whole country, but I come from Oklahoma, and it's all privatized prisons. I mean, it's just private people making money on volume of prisoners. I mean, there's no justice in it at all. It's just a big gang.
Yep.
You know.
And they pick and choose. They pick and choose the people. Hang on. The media, the Facebook, and all these other things. They already profile people. They put a dot on the person. Then the cop pulls the person over. It's profiling. And it's pre-crime. And it's only even more of a slippery slope from there.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. It's just gonna the whole pillars of everything's gonna have to crumble. I mean, there's just no way to do this without a complete wholesale change, and I guess that comes with a lot of bloodshed. I don't know if it has to, but yeah, I mean, you sit here and look at the world. We're consumers, absolutely right, and I take into this consideration about diet, not just the food you eat, but the books you read, the people you spend time with, your entire diet. But yeah, I'm just catching up here. I've missed the last couple weeks with you guys, so it's cool to see you guys talking about some heavy stuff because, yeah, from my perspective, it just gets more and more confusing and more nebulous, and I feel like the longer I live, the less I know. But one thing I do know is it stinks to high heaven, the whole thing. We need some actual leaders to step up and put their livelihoods on the line in order to get this thing set, this reset, whatever's going to happen. Unfortunately, I think we're just kind of in the pregame special here. I'm not even sure I would call it halftime. So that's all I have to say for right now. But so far, good stuff this episode, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a deep topic, and I never talk about this shit for the most part. A lot of it I don't talk about because it can hurt people. It's very depressing. It can create suicides. So like, I want to shine a light on all this stuff, and help us to not be so afraid to do things. Fear not. The cowards are the ones who aren't going to make it. They never make it. Fear not is the most commanded commandment that there is, that of all gods, I'd say, or God, or whatever you believe in, principality, fear not. It's at the top of every single skull and bones. You got to conquer fear. Masonic, you got to get reborn. Conquer fear. Jesus died for us so we can not be afraid of death and conquer fear. And well, that's one of the reasons, but all sorts of other things. It's just like, it's all geared towards don't be afraid. And Brighton, if you're here, I have a fucking song that I would love to play, because I've been talking for a lot, and just to give us all a little break here, if you could play in the background, she's really popular, Billie Eilish, All I Want, I believe it's All I Want. But if we could listen to that and just like watch one of these charts, so I could like take a break, smoke, and maybe end the episode here. I have a beautiful evening planned. Oh my gosh. A special sold out VIP concert with one of the best violinists in the world here right in Heartland, Michigan, or Milford, Michigan. His name is Dixon's Violin. I met him back in 2006, and I saw his meteoric rise to fame. He was just on TED Talks, so he's a good friend and a wonderful person. I have to type it in now. Brighton, tell me whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I think Brighton's going to have to bounce.
I don't even know if Brighton's here.
Yeah, he just had a message. He's going to have to bounce, but
okay. All right. All right, that's fine. Well, it's pretty much the close of the episode anyway. We could talk forever about this Ouroboros, snake eating its tail type of geometry of principalities. But there's layers and higher layers, and there's deeper layers. And how do you exercise your heart? You exercise your heart by loving fully, being in love, so that you can cry and exercise and feel all those emotions. Don't close your heart and be cold-hearted. You have to warm your heart up. So have a warm heart. Be careful what you consume with your hands, with your mouth, with your private parts, with your eyes, and guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of all life. It is, but it's also deceitful among all of the things. So you have to guard it and test the spirits, so you know what's right and how. That's some of my suggestions. Find that Holy Spirit, that Schumann resonance that works with the whole universe, and work with it, ingest it, digest it, consume it. There's many governments out there. Let's govern ourselves with love and truth and beauty. And that's the Logos. Thank you guys for being here on this really deep episode. I went into some deep things. A lot of information might not even been known. I don't vote myself, so I can't say anything about voting. This is not what this is about. I said some truth, a little bit about that. But love you guys. Have a good weekend, and I'm can't wait to see you next week.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you.
Thank you for being here, guys. Do we have any questions to close it up? All right, perfect. I think that was a good outro. Love you all. Peace.
Whether we're riding or whether we're driving, as long as I'm riding with you. It don't matter whether we're riding or whether we're driving, as long as I'm riding with you. It don't matter whether we're riding or whether we're driving, as long as I'm riding with you. It don't matter whether we're riding or whether we're driving, as long as I'm riding with you. I don't wanna be the person to burden your emergencies at first hand, urgencies at second hand, supplying demand, to find a definitive intervention for man. Not a division code, but a source code. Not a kiss and a toad and turn it to a prince. Not a turtle in a herd, not a fairy tale, not a narrative, not a nursery rhyme, not an aeroplane. All I wanna play with is real life intangible. Parallel to perfect, tearing up my curtain, tearing up my hair again. Nancy Kerrigan, fair skin, hairpins, nails hurt, tailspin, sonic speed. Honestly, all I need is the good weed and a beer. All you wanna say is that my empathy is empty, and I beat you with a curse word. Verbs are pressure where the wound bleeds. In order to swoon me, a spoon feed. Come by, I killed him with the curfew option. Adoption of property, the bippity boppity boo, the vapor that comes out of you. The people are robbing you of your spirit cause you have none. Pursue the one with me, and I will do what you need me to do. And I will do all what you need me to do. I will do all the way to reach. Pursue the one me and me, and I will do what you need me to do. I'll do what you need me to do. I'll do. masquerade, as around. All I am is infinity. All that you can see, all that we are, all that we go to, all that we are arranged into.
geometric view is love is watching product. Love is watching being. Thank you for doing that. Keep your eyeballs out. Pay attention. There's a lot going down this year. Be vigilant. Be mindful. Be insightful. Be loving. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being kind. Share the love. Spread the love. Become the love. Amen. Thank you for joining us for episode 27. The government. Digestion. Consumption. Put heaven in on both ears.
Together, oh yeah, playing in the sun all day long till it comes, and all along you knew that it was gonna be the dawn, and in the dark
I never
sitting
kill.
down together all alone at the same
kill.
time.
I never kill.
Each
I
other
never
up for the flow. The flow is keeping us together.
One voice, one choice, nothing more, nothing less. Here we go. Flex, flex, flex your flow. Flex, flow, flex your flow. Here we go. Flex, flex your flow. Your flow, flex your flow. Your flow.